So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Assistive Technology Social Hub from Sight and Sound Technology and our charity partners, Seascape. My name is Stuart Lawler. I'm from Sight and Sound Technology, and I'm joined, as always, by Stuart Beveridge, our co-host from Seascape. And today we're absolutely delighted to be joined by a great friend of Sight and Sound. That's Steve Nutt from Computer Room Services. I know when Steve joined the Social Hub last year, Stuart, I think it was one of our most popular sessions. Loads of people have questions for Steve. There's nothing about Android that Steve doesn't know. I already asked an Android question before we came on air. I think there'll be more of those today. And Steve has a couple of new products he's going to chat about. So we welcome your questions and interaction. And on that note, you can do so by raising your hand, using Alt and Y if you're on a computer, activating the raise hand button if you're on a mobile app, be that on iOS or Android, or you can contact us via chat, Alt and H on your computer, or activate the chat button. And if you are chatting, make sure you send your message to all panelists and attendees so that everybody gets to see the chat and you can participate in that alongside as well. I'll be keeping an eye on the raised hands and chat, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions for Steve as we go along. Before we hand over to Steve, just a quick note that our next session is on the 19th of May. That's a Thursday, and we're actually doing something special on that day for Global Accessibility Awareness Day. So we're not going to have a regular social hub on the 19th, but we will be launching a very special session that we're putting together with a panel of accessibility professionals for Global Accessibility Awareness Day. We're really looking forward to doing that one, and more information will be released nearer to the time. Steve, it's lovely to have you. Thanks for coming back to us. Great that you've given us your time, and every time you come, you have something new and exciting to show us.
Yeah. Hi, Stuart. Hi both Stuarts, and hi everyone in the session. Yeah, I'm always pleased to come on here, and I'm always looking for gadgets and gizmos and things that might help us, the blind, to live more independently and, and play more independently too, as well as live more independently. To that end, I've got a couple of new products. Then I want to talk a little bit about a couple of services that you may not be aware of that we provide. And then, we'll open the floor to questions, if that's all right, Stuart.
Brilliant, Steve.
So the first product I want to talk about is, for those that are familiar with the Milestone from Bones. Bones is a company in Switzerland. And the Milestone is a bit like the Swiss Army knife for audio. So what it does is allows you to play DAISY books. It allows you to play RNIB talking books. For DAISY, make you play Audible books. It plays Audible books. It plays. Can you not hear me? Did somebody say?
Yeah, no, we can hear you. Yeah.
I thought somebody in the chat said they couldn't hear me or something. Yeah, it plays Audible books. It plays RNIB DAISY books. It plays MP3 books. It also plays interesting formats like FLAC and WAVE. The quality of the components is very high. So if you plug headphones into it, it's got a very, very high, high quality headphone out jack. And they do several versions of the Milestone, which is why I said you may be familiar with it, because RNIB used to sell it years ago and then we took it on. But now they're doing a new version, which is the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth version. So as well as playing audio books, DAISY books, you can have an optional calendar on it, which is an optional sold add-on. You've got a voice recorder on it, a very high quality voice recorder on it. But as well as all that, it does Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so you can connect it to your Wi-Fi, and it's got little apps on the device, so it can give you the weather in your local town or whatever, and it can also play Wi-Fi streams, radio streams, and you can add your own streams as well. So Mushroom FM, BBC Radio 4, anything like that you can play on it, and you do everything pretty much from the PC side of it. So you do need a computer really to get the best out of it, because there is a little text file on the Milestone, and what you do is you put in the Wi-Fi name, so the SSID name, and you put in the Wi-Fi password into this text file, and then the Milestone sucks it into its memory and then deletes the text file. So it's not stayed on there for security reasons, obviously. it sucks it into memory, deletes the text file, and then it automatically connects to that Wi-Fi. And you can add as many as you want. So if you go away and you add extra access points, you can do that. It uses a cappella voices, of which there are loads. So you've got Peter, Rachel, Lucy, Graham, and all of those, and they're all installed to the unit. And it sounds a bit like this.
Web radio, internet, audio, books, alarm.
So if we go to
radio,
books,
web, internet, audio, books.
It's warm and the light good. The no mole should be stuck in a tunnel with his snout in a
and that's an
text.
RNIB talking book that I
Suddenly
downloaded.
declared,
We can speed up, we can slow down like you can with any other Daisy player. We can turn up and down the volume. We can do all kinds of things like that. Currently doesn't do podcasts, but they're telling me that that could happen because, you know, this takes apps, so they can create an app for it. So, and it's a firmware upgrade, which are free. And so it will do podcasts, but this is very new. So it doesn't currently let you play podcasts over the web, but it lets you play radio stations. What I would say the main advantage of this is that it's about the size of a thick credit card. It's very small, has an SD card in it, memory card in it, has 12 gig of internal memory, 12 gigabytes of internal memory, and you can put any card into it up to, well, I've tried 256 gig, and you can go up to a terabyte, I believe, in there. It's an SD card. You just press on the card to get it out, and it clicks, and it also beeps to tell you you've taken the card out, like that. And when you put the card in, it beeps low, high to tell you put a card in, like that. It's also got, so if we do the voice recorder,
Radio, agenda, web radio,
we go to audio.
audio.
The great thing about this is you can store your voice recordings in any folder you want. So let me just, for example, go to the folder list.
Folder manual txt.
Now we move left.
Folder Daisy. Folder agenda. Folder agenda. Folder manual txt. Folder miscellaneous.
So if I press play on this, so you press left and right arrow to move through the folders. If you press play, it's only got 5 buttons on it, believe it or not. Press play.
Folder miscellaneous.
Now you're in miscellaneous. And if you record a note, so if you say, for example,
charge battery urgently.
Oh, that's not very good, is it? I'm sorry about that. It's all going against me today. I thought I charged it, but obviously it didn't. If you record, it will record into the miscellaneous folder, and it will record in MP3 or it will record in WAV. It'll take a note of your voice recordings. So, it will announce the date and time of your voice recordings, so you can keep all your voice recordings in order. Excuse me, and lots of things like that. So that's essentially the Milestone plus Wi-Fi. As I say, more apps to come. It's a very new thing, and which is why the Wi-Fi is not working for me today. I've got some test software on it, and it's not working quite right. But the reason it isn't working for me, by the way, as well, is because I have a business router with other security features which consumer routers don't have. So we've got to find out which particular security feature of my router is blocking it. But it finds all the BT Wi-Fi's, and it finds all the the general consumer Wi-Fi. So there's no issue with connecting it normally to Wi-Fi. It works very easily. And also, if and this is only with your permission, and if you want us to, we can actually configure it with your Wi-Fi point, your access point, before shipping, because I told you about the text file thing. So if you tell us the Wi-Fi name and the password, what we can do is we can configure it and then send it out to you, and it'll automatically connect to your Wi-Fi. So that's, in a nutshell, that's the Milestone Wi-Fi. I don't know whether people want to ask questions at the end, or whether you want me to carry on to the next product. I've got 2 products today, and then a tiny bit about services that we can offer.
Okay, well, at the moment, Steve, I've no raised hands. So
Okay.
If you want to carry on, and then we'll certainly have plenty of time. So if people do want to ask questions, please even put your hand up now, and I'll come to those as we go along.
Absolutely. So that's the first product I wanted to highlight. The other one is from CareTech. And for the size of this thing, again, this is tiny. It's probably about 1 inch long. Feels a bit like a key ring. If you imagine this feels a bit like a key ring. And it is essentially, well, to say it's a talking clock is an understatement, right? It is certainly a talking clock, but it's a lot more. And it's called Zeitgeist or Zeitgeist 2. And it's from CareTech. Has 3 buttons on it, so it's nice and simple. And if I press the top button,
2:14 and 19 seconds p.m.
Yeah, did you notice it gives you the time in seconds as well? That may not be useful. You may not like that, but it does that. The other thing it does is if you long press the top button, so if you press and hold it, it vibrates the time. So what it will do is it will vibrate 1, 2, and then it will vibrate a single digit and a long vibrate, which is 4. So each long vibrate is 4, and each single vibrate is it's a single digit. So it tells me the time is 2:14. So what I can do is I can tell you the time without speech. I wonder if I put it on the table, if you'll hear the vibrate. Listen to this. Let's see if we can do it. There you go.
Yeah, very slightly, Steve. Yeah.
Very slight, just slight. You can just about hear it. So it's now 2:15.
2:15 and 17 seconds p.m.
So what I like about this is you can find out the time privately without any speech, which is really cool, a bit like a tactile watch. So it works in the, tactile manner as well. It's rechargeable, and it also does a lot more than talking clock. So let's just whip through some of the things it can do. So that was the time. Here's the date. Listen carefully to what this says.
Thursday, April 21st, 2022. Calendar week 16. Lunar phase waning. Give us 9 days till new moon.
So basically,
Wow.
it even gives us the phases of the moon. There you go. It has GPS to set the time. It doesn't use location. It doesn't use your location for any reason except to set the time in your country. So it sets the time automatically. Now let's go through some of the menu options. Now this is where this thing gets very, very interesting. Remember, it's a talking clock, right? So if we go to the menu.
Main menu, settings.
So first of all, this is settings, and I'm going to go into settings.
Settings, volume, battery, date, time zone, adjust for daylight saving time, reset to factory defaults, hourly, reminder.
So you've got an hourly chime.
GPS, time, synchronization.
So there's your GPS time synchronization. Bluetooth. Now that is apparently in some countries they do beds that vibrate. They're Bluetooth beds that vibrate for people with sensory impairments. So they vibrate in the morning, to set the alarm. And this clock can actually connect to those and can wake you up in the morning.
Thursday.
Now what it's done is it's timed out because I was. There we are.
Settings.
So that was basically settings, but this is where it gets interesting.
Games.
So we got games, which are simple games like dice roll and things like that, which you can just play when you're idling a while. Lumitest. Now this is interesting. So if we go into the Lumitest, that's your light probe. Now if I press the top button,
light intensity 5 lux.
So 5 lux. So light is measured in lux.
Light intensity 22 lux.
So that's where it's brighter, and you can hear it moving around. Now, before we move to the next item, I'm going to come out of the main menu. If I press the middle button, which is the main menu button, it will actually read me the last thing that I used on the menu. So
light intensity 147 lux.
So that's quite bright because the sensor was facing the monitor. 147 lux, and it would pitch really quite high. So that's a light sensor. So let's carry on.
Period calendar.
Period calendar.
Note taker.
A note taker. Now, what do we mean by a note taker? Let's go into here.
Note taker. First note.
So I've got a pre-recorded note here, which I've done before.
New note. First note.
Let's play that first note.
Are you sure you want to delete note?
No, I
Short
don't.
Press top button. The note was deleted. First note.
Okay. Right. So what I'm going to do.
New note. First note. Note.
So I'm now recording a quick note just to show how good it is.
That was an
And the
exhibition.
microphones are pretty good as well.
So considering
I
it was
press the top
crowded
button to start the recording.
in there.
I can press the top button again to stop the recording and the bottom button to play it. So now, if I press the top button, it will stop recording.
And
Taken at March 16th, 2022 at 11:21 a.m.
so it gives you a note of when that was done as well, taken with date and
Menu.
time.
Note
Now,
taker.
let's go back in
Note taker.
and we'll
One.
create a new note. And this is where,
Stopwatch. Note taker. Note taker. First note. New note.
so I'm going to go new note.
New note. Taken out. Short press top button to start or stop recording. Short press bottom button to play.
So this is just a quick test note to see how it records in a quiet environment. So you just heard a noisy environment, and now we're just recording in a quiet environment. So I'm going to press the top button again to stop it recording, and then I'm going to press the bottom button to play, and you'll hear what it says when I stop recording.
Note has been stored.
So now I'm going to press play.
This is just a quick test note to see how it records in a quiet environment. So you just heard a noisy environment, and now we're just recording in a quiet environment. So I'm going to press the top button again to stop it recording, and then I'm going to press the bottom button to play, and you'll hear what it says when I stop recording.
And there is my note recorded. So if I now go back into notes,
Main menu. Note taker. Note taker. 2 notes.
so I go in there.
Note taker. First note. Second note.
So if I,
Note.
This is just a quick test note
And there's
to
my-
see how it
there's my
records
test
in
note
a
that I just
quiet
recorded.
environment. So you
and
just
after
heard a
this
noisy
time I
environment.
play, it will give me the
And
date
now
and
we're just
time.
recording in a quiet environment. So I'm going to press the top button again to stop it recording, and then I'm going to press the bottom button to play, and you'll hear what it says when I stop recording.
Taken at April 21st, 2022 at 2:19 p.m.
And there you go. There's your note. So if we go back in the menu now,
Main menu. Period. Count. Note. Stopwatch.
we've got a stopwatch, and that gives you several lap timers. You can do split timing, and it's quite a complicated stopwatch.
Calendar.
There's your calendar, and
Timer.
there's your timer. That's your regular hour timer.
Alarm.
And there's your regular alarm clock.
Compass.
Compass. So if I go into compass,
West. North. Northeast.
I'm moving around.
East. North.
Yeah, and so that's your compass. Let's come out of that.
Main menu. Compass.
Now notice also that it remembers the last place you were when you went into the menu all the time, which is really good.
Alarm.
And there's
Pedometer.
and there's a pedometer as well. So what you can do is you can set that to 0, and you can go out for a walk with it in your pocket, and it will count your steps.
Settings.
And we're back to settings. The calendar is a voice-based calendar.
Alarm.
So if we go to
Compass.
Go to
Alt.
calendar.
Calendar. Calendar. New event.
So if I go into new event,
Event. Disabled.
so the event at the moment is disabled.
Enabled. Disabled. Enabled.
So if I enable it,
Year 2022.
there's the year.
2020. 2022. Month. April. Day. 21st.
So if I go to say tomorrow,
20th.
yep,
22nd.
there we go.
Hours. 2
And all I'm doing is pressing the middle button to confirm it, and the top and the bottom button to go kind of up and down.
3 p.m.
So I want an appointment tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Minutes. 22.
So if I go to
19. 8. 4. 8. 4. 3. 2. 1. 0.
so where we are, there's our appointment at.
Repeat. Never.
So we can repeat an appointment, never,
Yearly.
yearly,
Monthly.
monthly,
Working days.
working days. That's a good one.
Weekly.
Weekly
Daily.
and daily. If you do weekly, it's the same day every week. So if you want to listen to the AT social, you could set that for every Thursday at 2 o'clock or whenever you wanted to do it.
Never.
So I've got repeat to never because we're just doing a test appointment.
Jingle.
So we've got whatever sound we want now. There's loads of sounds. That kind of sound. There's a bass. Big Ben. You can have that. So if I want that one, I select the middle button.
Taken out. Short press top button to start or stop recording. Short press bottom button to play.
So this is a test recording just to set up a calendar appointment, just to demonstrate what it is like. So we will stop the recording now.
This is a test recording just to set up a calendar appointment.
And I'll
just
press
to,
the bottom button to
demonstrate
play
what
it as it
it's like.
instructed
So
me.
we'll stop the recording now.
And now I'm going to press the middle button.
Event added successfully.
So if I now go into the calendar,
Main menu. Calendar. 1. Event active. Nearest event.
This is a test recording just to set up a calendar appointment, just to demonstrate what it is like. So we'll stop the recording now.
Set for 1 day, 35 minutes from now.
and there you are. You get a countdown to the dates there, and you can browse your calendar and see what dates they're on as well. That, believe it or not, is the zeitgeist. And as I say, when I say it's a talking clock, that is definitely an understatement, isn't it?
It's amazing how many features, Steve, is in like a tiny device that you just described to us.
Tiny, absolutely tiny device. What's this, about an inch long, is it, Deb? I'm just asking my assistant. Is that about an inch long? A couple of inches long, maybe 2 inches long, about an inch wide, maybe, and it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. So
Steve,
yeah.
is it a good time to go to a raised hand?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I have Martin Lawler, who's a good friend of the AT Social Hub, has had his hand up for a while. I know
Okay.
Martin.
Yeah.
I know Martin likes your products as well. So, Martin, I'm going to invite you to unmute yourself. And yeah, we have you, Martin.
Steve, how's it going? Really enjoyed your presentation. I have the first Milestone, and yes, you're right. The sound is amazing with headphones.
Yep.
Really good for recording and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask you, what price is the Wi-Fi Ace?
It's $399.
That's pounds, isn't it?
Yeah, £399. Yeah.
But shipping to Ireland, I'd have to pay that too, wouldn't I?
Sorry?
The shipping, the import, like duties.
Well, we normally send it via DPD courier, and we don't charge for that.
Okay, and do you think will it have a podcast app in the future? Do you think?
Yeah, I shall probably do a podcast of it when the software's a bit more stable.
Right. Okay.
But remember, the software updates are always free. The other thing I was going to say, for those interested in recording, Martin, I'm glad you brought that up. If you plug an external mic into the Milestone, you can record in stereo as well, and you can record in high quality wave. And I don't think any other Daisy player does that, except the Evo E10 maybe, but even that is not as good quality as the components in the Milestone.
So you could use it as a device maybe to record podcast interviews, maybe, Steve?
Yes.
If you're in the field, yeah.
Absolutely, you can. Even with its built-in mics, it's perfectly good for recording podcasts. Wouldn't you say, Martin?
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll still say that, like, the Plex Talk is pretty good for recording too, I have to say.
Yeah.
It is.
But you're right though, but the Milestone is very good for recording. It really is.
Yeah.
And such a tiny device, like.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize can you use a 256 gig in the older one, or is it just in the new one?
If you've got the latest firmware update, yes, you can.
Yeah, I've got the latest firmware update. Yeah.
You should be able to then, yeah.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah.
All right, Martin, thanks for your question.
Thanks,
okay.
Martin.
Good to see you.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Okay, and just a quick reminder to anyone else who wants to ask Steve a question, you can raise your hand. We'll come to you in due course, or you can put something in the chat by pressing Alt and H or accessing the chat button on your mobile device. Stuart, I know you're always interested in new tech. Are you wowed by what Steve has had to show us?
Hang on, I'll just unmute myself. It's really interesting, and just for such tiny devices, how they're, as you say, Stuart, how they're packing all of those features into, something so small. But that's the way the world's going, isn't it? Seems to be just everything's getting smaller and smaller, isn't it? And you could do a lot more in them. So
yeah, and the thing about the Zeitgeist as well is the fact that it vibrates the time as well, so it makes it open to deafblind people. You know,
but what's the price on the Zeitgeist?
195, 195.
Okay,
it's not bad.
And it charges via USB-C, and it lasts for about a month on a single charge.
Wow,
fantastic.
And if you go into settings,
Main menu, calendar.
so if we go
Stop, note, period, game, settings, submenu, settings,
there we are.
settings, volume, battery.
So if you go into battery,
Level is on 100%.
now do you remember what I said to you about if I come out of that? So I'm out of it now, so I'm ready. I'm at the clock to tell the time.
29 and 29 seconds.
And if I now short press the middle button, which is the menu button, it will tell me the battery level, because that was the last option I used.
Battery level is on 100%.
It's so well thought out, isn't it?
Yeah, great little device.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see any more raised hands. So Steve, I know you want to talk about maybe some services, separate to product, I suppose.
Yeah, if that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So I didn't know if anyone was aware of some of the PC support services that we offer, as well as training. I've spoken about training before. So we train in JAWS and NVDA primarily, and we can also do it remotely. So we can log into the end user's computer with their permission, and we can train them. So we JAWS tandem in, or use NVDA remote, whatever they want to use, or we use our own system called RIM, which is Remote Incident Manager from Ceratec. We can log in to do training and stuff like that. But we also offer computer support contracts. Now, what that means is, you know, if you're not comfortable updating your Windows drivers or updating JAWS because you're a bit scared you might lose speech and various things like that, anything, if you're really not comfortable updating computer technology, because we get updates so frequently, don't we? We offer various packages of computer support. So the first one is one-on-one, is just a one-off, which is £30 an hour. So if you've got a problem, you can ring me up anytime, make an appointment, and then we can go into your computer and have a look. And whatever it costs to the nearest block of 15 minutes is what you pay. So if you only use me for 15 minutes, you pay £7.50, basically. An hour is £30. If, however, you want more kind of stability where you don't have to keep paying for it, you can pay £20 a month or £200 a year, and you can ring us anytime within that period, and we will, you know, hopefully fix problems for you and update drivers and all that. And the support packages, the annual and the monthly support packages, we come in every quarter. So we make an appointment with you every quarter, check all your drivers, make sure they're all up to date and so on. Usually it takes about half an hour. You can often log me into your computer and then leave me to it, and we update all your drivers so you're all comfortable with it and so on. So computer support is one of the services that we offer that you may not have been aware of. And the other one is web development and design. So we build on WordPress. So if you're a charity or an organization or even an individual and you want your own website, we can do that. We build websites. I've built about 5 now, so I can send people links to other websites that we built so you can see how they're accessible. So if we do your website, if you're blind, for example, and you want a website and you want images on it, if you provide us with the images, we can upload them. That's called a managed hosting package. So for that, again, is £200 a year or £20 a month. Or if you just want if you want us to host a website and you manage it yourself completely, that's just £5 a month or $50 a year. And that includes email as well for that domain. We can also manage and sell domains as well. So, you know, if you want, stuart.me.uk or steve.me.uk, whatever, if they're not taken, we can register domains for you and handle all that. We run our own email servers. We do spam blocking, all kinds of stuff like that. And basically, I don't know if you know, but if you've got an email address with BT Internet or whoever, usually it's very hard to get support. You're on hold and so on. And we're local. We also are aware of accessibility, and so we can offer you that kind of support. I just wanted to bring that to people's attention in case they didn't know about our services rather than our products, because I'm always talking about products, but we also offer these services as well. And we also, the final service I wanted to quickly mention is if you want to ever start your own podcast, we can host it for you, or we can edit it for you. What that means is I do sound editing, I do sound restoration. I use the Reaper digital the Reaper digital audio workstation, which is very accessible, and I also do training on Reaper if people want to know about it. And if you want to create your own podcast, we can edit it and bring all the sound up to scratch and make it all nice for you. And basically the way we do that is we give you a quote before we start. We also clean up a couple of minutes of your file so you can hear, if we can do it satisfactorily free of charge before we take on any work. And we basically charge £1 per audio minute. So if your podcast is 30 minutes, we charge £30. Now, the reason for that is it usually takes 2 or 3 hours to make a 30-minute podcast really nice. So I think that's quite reasonable within price ranges and stuff like that. But we usually give you a quote. If it's difficult sound, then it might cost more. Like if we have to remove a lot of noise and clean up, then that's difficult. But generally those are kind of ballpark prices that we do. That's really all I wanted to bring to the table today, Stuart, in services and all that, and I appreciate the opportunity to do it.
Well, thank you, Steve. It just kind of reminds me, because I think you talked about Reaper when you were with us last year, and back then I was thinking I really must go and learn it, because I tried it before, but I didn't give it any time, and maybe I actually need to sit down with you and pay you a few quid, because I'm very much single track editing person. But I'm delighted to hear all the great stuff you're doing with Reaper. Just on the computer support thing, maybe for a minute, because I think that's really good that you've kind of flagged that for us. I didn't know you did that. And
Okay, yeah.
A lot of people who are maybe sometimes, nowadays, Steve, I think you notice you get an update whether you want it or not. Windows updates just get pushed in,
Yeah.
Office updates, maybe something has upset a driver.
Yeah.
I just think it's lovely that you're offering that little bit of security for people who just might feel a little bit more apprehensive about that.
Yeah, and in case you're wondering, so long as we can access it remotely, I have a lovely sighted assistant here who can help me. So if I lose speech, it's not as bad as if you lose speech.
You're a glamorous assistant. It sounds like one of the game shows, Steve. You're glamorous assistant.
My glamorous assistant.
Very good.
Say hello, Deb.
Hello, Dev. There we go. Fantastic.
And so
fantastic.
you would deal with me, Angie, or Debbie if you talk to any of us in the business. And so and Debbie's my sighted assistant, and she does all the, when we do the managed hosting for the web as well, she does all the uploading of images for me and things like that, and makes websites look nice, and as well as being accessible. And she's aware of alt text on pages and things like that, so they read nice with JAWS and things like that. So we can do that. And talking of that, Stuart, as well, we do have on-site services, but they often are more expensive simply because of travel and sometimes accommodation, and things like that. So we have to quote, but generally kind of for £399, we can come to you for a day, and we can configure your Wi-Fi for you. If you're getting Wi-Fi dropout, or if you're getting anything like that. We're quite technical on that side. I'm used to routers and things like that, so I can do all that kind of stuff. All that kind of support is well on the table. And we also sell Draytech routers. I don't know if you've heard of Draytech, but they are excellent business routers. Now, the trouble with consumer routers is because they are free, they're given away with the ISP. They're often, quite cheap routers. And they're not very tolerant where Wi-Fi is concerned. So we can recommend the Draytech routers if you want a better Wi-Fi experience.
It, as you mentioned, all these things you're doing, the products you're selling, the services, the fact that you can go out as well if people need you to. You're also, I guess people need to keep in mind, you're also running this business yourself. I'm wondering how you find time to do all this stuff. So I'm amazed, really amazed.
Well, actually, it's you know, I sleep occasionally, you know.
Only occasionally.
No, what it is though is a lot of stuff can be done. Like for example, I use QuickBooks. Again, we train. So if you're a small business, we can train you to use QuickBooks, which is an online accounting program, and it's accessible with JAWS and NVDA, and it's completely cloud-based. So you haven't got to install any software, and we can train on QuickBooks as well. But I use QuickBooks myself, and I do all my my bookkeeping and stuff like that. And because they've got a mobile app, I can often sit in the car and do that. And while Debbie's driving me to places, I can sit in the car and do my accounts, my bookkeeping, and various things like that, and answer emails, of course. And we can all do that on mobile apps nowadays. So that makes life a lot easier because it means that I'm not just sitting in a car idling. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm listening to the podcast, because sometimes you just have to take yourself away from work for a minute or two,
I actually wonder, Steve, on that point, and you make. I've often said, I was talking to a sighted colleague of mine last week, and we were just talking the fact that she's driving a lot for work, and I'm getting trains, and I feel I'm almost more productive because I can do almost everything I would do in the office on the train. Wi-Fi is pretty good. Whereas if you're driving in your car, the work is still there when you get back, unless you pull in to tackle a bit of it. So maybe there's an advantage to either having a driver or using public transport sometimes.
I will say
you can do
to
those
you,
things.
Stuart, that I used to travel on public transport years ago, like you did.
Yeah.
Now I've got Debbie, who's my driver as well as my support worker.
Yeah.
It takes the stress out of it.
Right. I need to get myself a driver. I know that Stuart Beveridge has a driver as well. So we're all
got to worry about people turning up with assistance.
Just get into the car and close your eyes.
Get out of the car.
Okay.
Debbie's doing all the hard work, so I don't have to when she's driving me. And when I get there, then I leap into action.
She negotiates all the traffic.
And that's, but Debbie's still working hard with me as well, because
of course,
when we go out to people, that's another thing to point out, because Debbie's always with me. We've always got sighted assistance. The amount of time we go out to someone's house and I say, what's your router password? And they say, oh, it's written on the back of the router.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have anyone sighted with me, I wouldn't be able to read it. So
yeah.
So Debbie plays as big a part as I do in running everything, and she keeps things running smoothly for me and things like that. Keeps the oils, greased, as the wheels greased.
Last chance then for people who are on the session, if you want to raise your hand and ask Steve a question, Alt and Y, I'm sure Steve would be happy to answer a few more. We do have one, and come to John in a sec. Steve, just before we go to John's question, we couldn't have you on the show and not mention Android, because you're sort of synonymous with Android. I get the feeling, Steve, there's more people now sort of saying, hang on, I've paid so much for iPhones over the years, I've invested so much in Apple, I want to look at the alternative. And it sounds like in some respects, there's never been a better time to look at the alternative. Like, Android's in a good state at the moment, isn't it, from an accessibility perspective?
Well, I'm gonna be a bit controversial now, Stuart, and I'm gonna just say one word for you about iOS at the moment, and that's Braille.
Yes.
iOS Braille is a bit buggy, and they still haven't fixed it. It's still locking up on Braille displays and various things like that. So it's nice to have an alternative. That's the only reason I said it. It's nice to have an alternative. What I always say to people, though, is that Android and iOS is now a lifestyle choice for blind people. It's not an accessibility choice. They're both up there with the accessibility. I can't think of anything you can do on your iPhone that I can't do on my Android phone. And that's a good place to be.
It's a great place to be, because we now have choice, I suppose, don't we? And I guess Android handsets can be cheaper. So at least now people can shop around.
But I will warn you about that. I'll tell you a tiny bit of personal experience. I bought unfortunately, I bought it secondhand, but I bought a Sony Xperia phone, Android phone. And it's, the audio on that phone is great. It's got a 3.5mm jack. It's got high specs. It's great. But I've gone back to my Pixel, my Google Pixel, because there are so many bugs in Sony's version of Android 12 that I had to go back to the Pixel, because the Pixel didn't have those bugs, because the Pixel is made by Google, as is the iPhone made by Apple. Google makes Android, Google makes Pixel phones. It makes sense, in my view, to buy a Pixel.
Yeah.
Even though, there are a lot of cheaper Android phones about, but they really don't cut it. I mean, I've had a Pixel 3, 4, 4XL, 6, and I didn't have a Pixel 5, but I've seen them. I've always been happy with Pixels, but since my Sony Xperia, I'm saying even Samsung phones, right? Samsung make really good Android phones, but because they mess around with TalkBack, in my view, the experience isn't as good as is with the Pixel. And so I always come back to it sounds like I'm a Google Pixel advert, but I come back to it's the best experience. You wouldn't buy an iPhone if it wasn't made by Apple, if that makes sense.
Right, and I suppose as well, if this is a device you're going to have for 2-3 years, it's going to be your main device, you do need to spend a bit of money on it to make sure it does what you want and meets your expectations.
And Google give the longest time for updates as well. Now with like Apple, they give 4 years of updates. So the Pixel 4 XL is still going to get Android 13 and 14.
Oh, that's good.
That's pretty
so
good.
Good advice there. I'm going to go. We have a raised hand. We have John Flynn. So John, I'm going to invite you to speak, and we'd love to hear your question for Steve. I think we have you, John.
Hi all. Hi Stevie. Well,
hello, John.
Oh, mate, good. This Milestone, I'm quite intrigued by it. With because I know it plays music as well. How are the folders laid out with that? Can you shuffle play? Can you?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's got shuffle play or random play, is it called?
Random play,
yes,
yeah.
It has, yeah.
Like the Evo 10 has a random, doesn't it? So there's
yes, yeah. But unlike, for example, if you're familiar with the Victor Reader Stream, where you've got to put books into certain folders, so you've got to put Daisy books in $VRDT.
Yeah, I've got Victor's and Victor stuff. Yeah.
Put music in $VR music.
Yes.
The Milestone doesn't care a damn where you put the folder, the files. It'll figure it out. So, for example, if you've got if there's an XML file in there, or SMIL file as they call it, SMIL file, it knows, oh yeah, this is a Daisy book, so I'm going to treat it like a book. And so you can I mean, I've got a folder called Daisy because I'm used to that, and underneath that I've got all my authors or whatever, and then I've got the books. You could put it in a folder called John, and it wouldn't care. It would know it's a Daisy book. You just have to switch to the right mode. So, for example, you have to go to oh, it's gone off. Hang on, there we are. So, if you want to play a Daisy book, you have to do books, and then if you look at your bookshelf,
The Halloween Moon, Joseph Fink.
There's an Audible book, by the way, just to prove it. So that's an Audible book. So if I play that,
This is Audible.
there you go. And that's playing an Audible book. And so if you go to books,
Alarm, radio, agenda, web radio, internet, audio, books,
it will go along your bookshelf. So you can move up and down.
beginning or end of book, bookmarks, bookshelf.
So now you move along.
This is an RNIB talking book. By William Hallwood.
So that's that. And if I go left,
The Halloween Moon,
and there's my Audible book.
Joseph Fink.
As well as reading books, it also reads text as well. So if I go to
Alarm, radio, agenda, web radio,
go to
internet,
audio for text,
audio.
and then I can now read the Milestone's own manual, which is a text.
Folder miscellaneous.
Go there.
Folder manual txt. Folder manual txt.
So you can browse it just like you can in File Explorer, which is really good.
Please protect your Milestone 312 ACE against strong force, humidity and water. The warranty does not cover damage caused by improper handling, overload or opening the device.
There we are. So that's reading a text file, a normal, TXT file. It reads text files, it reads Word document files. Doesn't read PDF currently. They tell me that will be coming though. But it reads text and docx and various things like that. So it does read text, but the confusing thing is that you have to go to audio to read text. So audio will read anything other than Daisy books and Audible books. So audio will read text, and it will read MP3 books and other kind of things like that. The difference between an MP3 book and a Daisy book, as far as the Milestones are concerned, is that you haven't got the extra Daisy files in there. You've only got MP3 files in the folder, and you can treat that's music or a book, and that's why it's read under audio. Once you get used to all that, it's an excellent little product.
It sounds it, doesn't it? And the fact there's going to be lots of updates coming along with it, I think that's a plus, isn't it?
Yeah, Bones are always updating it.
How would you update? Would you do those via your internet, or would you have to download files and then copy them across?
You just download a file, a single file from the Bones website, and you copy it to the device. In fact, I hope well, actually, it might not work, but I'll try and demonstrate it. So there we are.
Yeah.
So I've just connected to the PC.
Right.
And I'm going to go to my.
That comes up as a separate drive, then, won't it?
Comes up as a drive. It comes up as 2 drives if you've got an SD card in it.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to get a. There you are, MW312ace.sw.
Okay.
Copy that to the clipboard. Go to drive H, which is my memory card. Copy that there. Okay.
On the root of the
I'm
card.
going to now unplug the Milestone. This is how easy it is to update it.
Connection deactivated. Battery level is too low for update.
Fair enough.
Charge battery.
So what would happen is normally it would say software update, and next time you plug it into charge, it will do the update. It won't do the update if you plug it into a PC, but if you plug it into a wall plug, it will do the update automatically as soon as you plug it in. If not, it will wait till there's enough charge, and then when you unplug it, it will do the update.
It comes with a wall plug, does it?
Yes, it comes with a charge.
What's that? 5 amp sort of thing? Is that
Yeah, 5 amp.
Yeah. Excellent. I think
standard
I'd have
like,
one of these.
mini-
Are they available now?
Yeah, they're available now. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. That sounds
all right,
good.
John.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question. Thanks a million. Good to talk to you. Brilliant. Okay, Steve, what can we say? You always bring excitement to the webinars we produce, so thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. You know.
And Stuart Beveridge and myself have our credit cards out and ready to go. So we'll be going. Stuart, off you go now and buy the Milestone Ace.
Well,
tell us about it on the next show.
Actually, Steve, I'm quite intrigued of just before you finished, Stuart. Actually, I've been looking into Android for some time, Steve, and you know the thing that's putting me off. I'm a very Apple person, but you know how Apple Viz has, you can go in there and you can find accessible apps, and it's like the go-to website if you're an Apple person. Apple Viz, you know what's coming. What really puts me off is with Android, I cannot find anything on the website that's as good a resource as an alternative to Apple Viz. So I'm not quite sure which apps actually are accessible, are recommended by visually impaired people. Do you know of any websites?
I'm going to be brutal now, and I'm going to say I don't bother with anything like that.
Ah.
If I want to use an app, I'll try it, and if it don't work, I'll uninstall it.
Right. So you're just saying what everybody else is saying. It's basically the Braille Sense 6 is where I'm trying things out at the moment, and I just find it a pain to think, should I bother downloading this? Should I?
Stop right there. The Braille Sense 6 is not Android.
Sorry,
Stuart, you're not going to like this, Stuart L.
It's all right, Steve. We can take all sorts of criticism.
The Braille Sense 6 is a very, very customized version of Android. The problem with it is that it doesn't allow Braille keyboard commands for some of the touch gestures and talkback.
Ah, I see.
Right. So you can't. I mean, I know a good friend of mine in the States, Judy Jones. She always said to me, I don't use my Braille Sense 6 for many third-party apps because I've got an Android phone, so I use the phone because it works better, because she's into touch screens and so on. Now, of course, if you're not into touch screens, then the Braille Sense 6 is a great idea. But it's the email client, for example, is nothing like Gmail. If you set up a Gmail client, you can just set your email up, type your email in and go. The email client on the BS6 is so old that it's not funny. I've even told him that, so don't even talk about the Braille Sense 6 as being Android in the same vein as you would with a phone, because it really isn't. That's the thing. I can't put it any clearer that just because it don't work on the BS6, I mean, I found an app called Aquamail for Android, and I installed it to a BS6 because I've got a BS6 here, and it's more accessible the native email client on the BS6, and I can't figure
Wow.
that one out. The reason it's more accessible is because it does conversation view, it supports Exchange, it supports Gmail, and the internal BS6 client doesn't do that, does it, Stuart? Be honest.
No, just no. I mean, look, I think that they're all valid criticisms, Steve. I wouldn't have any issue with any of them, you know.
So all I'm saying is the reason I brought it up at all is to say don't compare Android on a phone with Android on the BS6, because the experience is so much better on a phone, because you've got so much more choice of apps that will work, because some of the apps won't work on the BS6 because you haven't got the gestures for it, you know.
I see.
So that it makes them less accessible than now on a phone, if that makes sense. Now, I mean, there is a website I think called androidaccess.com.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's similar to the Apple Viz, but nowhere near as good.
No.
But I mean, it's a valid criticism, that Stuart, but I've never figured out why we need that. What I mean by that is, see, if you install a free app and it don't work,
just
you
take
can
it off.
uninstall it again.
I suppose, Steve, the one useful thing of having a site like Apple Viz is you could try 20 apps and none of them be accessible. If you go on Apple Viz and 20 people say this app is accessible, it just saves time, I suppose, if someone has tried
where I
something
was
before.
coming from.
Encounter to that, you know, you might get a sighted person try 20 fitness apps and they don't like it, and they think,
of course,
that
yeah.
So, and that's nothing to do with accessibility. Do you know what I mean?
And everybody uses their phone and their access technology differently. So
but yeah, I mean, there is a good list which is quite high traffic, but it's Blind Android Access, I think it is, and there is some very knowledgeable people on there, and you know, I'm on there as well, and you know, they lowered the standards, they let me on.
No, they like people to sort them out, Steve. You sort
absolutely
them out.
But you know, it's very much like, I don't know many apps in Android now or iOS, come to that aren't actually accessible, except for those that have unlabeled buttons. Now, if they have unlabeled buttons, you can usually label them with TalkBack, and I usually go through someone cited, and with someone cited like Debbie, so sometimes we label buttons, and I'm happy, and then I hit the developer and say, look, you could label the buttons like this, you know, and do that. I'm not in the camp of, I don't treat Android like a religion. What I mean is, I don't think Android is better than iOS. I don't think iOS is better than Android. As I said to you, it's a lifestyle choice. In fact, my friend, a great friend of mine who's a computer engineer, he said both operating systems suck. You've just got to find the one that sucks least for you.
There you go.
You know, so that's how I look at it. You know, you find the one you like and you stick to it. What I don't like is people who, and I can't bear it, is people that come up to me and say, I've used Apple for 10 years and I've tried Android for 10 minutes and I don't like Android. I don't have time for those people, you know.
No, I suppose you want to have an open mind if you're going to try something. And
yeah, I mean, if you say to me, yeah, I've used Android and I don't understand X, Y, Z and I can't use it, that's a different matter. But if you use Android and you use it for 10 minutes and say it's not accessible, I haven't got time for you, you know.
Yeah, and just before we finish, just to say on Android, there is, and you'll know it, Steve, there is a very good podcast. I think it's called Blind Android Users that I'm subscribed to, and there's a lot of information in there if you're into or looking to get into Android.
That's right, Warren Carr and
yeah, I knew there was I couldn't remember the name, so thanks, Stuart. I knew there was a name
Green,
of the show.
That's the one.
Yeah, they're very good.
It's a good podcast, and also the blind users list is also based, you know, it's run by the same people that run the podcast. So there's an email list as well, so you can ping out questions for Android and so on like that. The way I prefer to do it now, to be fair, is if I want to use Android apps that aren't native to any Braille display, not just the BS6, I'd sooner connect the BS6 to a phone and use it like that.
Yeah.
Because I've got the touch gestures if I need them then, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what a great way to end it on. And words of wisdom, great words of wisdom on Android. And I'm sure Stuart and myself will be coming back to this topic in the future. Steve, thanks as always. You've been a pleasure and a fountain of knowledge for our webinar listeners and viewers and audience. So thanks for giving us the time. And of course, people can
Android AT if people want it. You know, if there's enough demand for it.
That's an idea.
Okay, let's get you back for that. You've just booked yourself in.
An hour on Android, you know.
You've just booked yourself in. And people can go to Steve's website, which is comproom, comproom.co.uk. Loads of stuff there. Steve, thanks a million. Stuart, thanks as always. Thank you everybody for joining us. And we'll speak to you all in, remember, our Global Accessibility Awareness Day on the 19th of May. And we'll be back again in June.
See you later.